My name is Sophia. I am 36 years old. I work as a psychology professor at a large university in Chicago. My life was always quiet and organized. Every morning, I woke up early, drank coffee alone, and prepared lessons for my students. I liked my peaceful routine. But sometimes, late at night, I felt lonely. This semester, a new student joined my class. His name was Ethan. He was only 20 years old. He had dark brown hair, deep green eyes, and a smile that made people feel comfortable around him. Ethan always sat near the front of the classroom. He listened carefully whenever I spoke. Unlike the other students, he looked at me differently. His eyes stayed on me longer than they should have. After class, he often stayed behind. At first, he asked questions about psychology and human behavior. But slowly, the conversations changed. Professor Sophia, he once said, "You explain things in a way that makes me feel understood." Another day, he smiled and said, "You look beautiful when you smile." My face became warm immediately. I knew this was dangerous. He was my student. I was his professor. This was wrong. "Ethan," I told him carefully, "our conversations should stay professional. You are my student." But deep inside, a small part of me liked the attention. It had been years since someone looked at me that way. Every day, I repeated the same thing in my mind. "Sophia, be careful. Don't cross the line." Weeks passed slowly. I focused on teaching and ignored the strange feelings growing inside me. But Ethan never stopped trying to get closer. One rainy afternoon, almost every student left class early. Ethan stayed behind again. "Professor Sophia," he said softly, "do you ever get tired of being alone?" His question shocked me. I looked away for a moment before answering. Everyone feels lonely sometimes. Ethan smiled sadly. "I think lonely people understand each other better." For a second, neither of us spoke. That night, I could not sleep. His words stayed inside my head. I kept asking myself why this young man affected me so much. A month later, the semester break finally arrived. I felt exhausted from work and emotions. So I booked a vacation to a small island in Greece. I wanted sunshine, silence, and distance from my complicated feelings. I packed my bags and left Chicago behind. The island was beautiful. Blue water, warm air, and quiet beaches. For the first time in months, I felt calm again. On my second evening there, I sat alone at a beach cafe watching the sunset. Then, I I heard a familiar voice behind me. Professor Sophia? I turned around quickly and froze. It was Ethan.
I stood outside the student lounge, completely frozen. My hands trembled. My chest hurt so much I could barely breathe. Everything had been fake. His smiles, his compliments, the kiss on the beach, the night on the island. It was all a game. I quietly walked away before anyone saw me crying. That night, I locked myself inside my apartment. I sat alone on the floor for hours, staring at the wall. I felt stupid, humiliated, used. I kept replaying every moment in my mind, every touch, every word. How could I believe someone so young truly cared about me? The next morning, I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red from crying, but suddenly, something inside me changed. No, I would not let this destroy my life. I reported the situation privately to the university administration before rumors could spread. I admitted my mistake honestly. It was painful, very painful, but I accepted responsibility. Ethan was removed from my class immediately. Weeks later, I saw him once across the campus. He looked at me with guilt in his eyes, but I kept walking. Sometimes loneliness makes people ignore danger. Sometimes attention feels so warm that we forget how badly it can burn us later. I learned something important from that experience. Never trust someone who treats your heart like a game, because some people don't fall in love. They only want to win.
He never replied. 2 days later, I walked near the student lounge at university. I heard loud laughter inside. Then, I heard Ethan's voice. I stopped walking immediately. One of his friends laughed loudly. So, Ethan, did you really sleep with Professor Sophia? Ethan laughed. Yeah, he said proudly. Easy money. I won the bet. My entire body went cold. A bet. Ethan continued laughing with his friends. I told you she'd fall for me after a few drinks. In that moment, something inside me shattered completely. My heart started beating very fast. Ethan stood there smiling in the warm evening light. What are you doing here? I asked nervously. Vacation, he replied. Looks like fate wanted us to meet again. I tried to stay calm, but my hands were shaking slightly. Seeing him here felt unreal. Ethan asked if he could sit with me for a few minutes. I should have said no, but instead, I nodded slowly. We talked for hours that night. Not about university. Not about psychology. We talked about life, dreams.